Thank you, Liban. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Asante. My colleague, CS James Wandayi, my friend Liban Mohammed, PS Petroleum. We've got our two chairmen, and thank you, Chairman Jackton Ojwang, Honorable Justice Jackton Ojwang, Chairman EPRA, and Chairman, Senator, Governor, former CS, Rigathi Murungi. Thank you for coming to witness this handing over ceremony. Let me also acknowledge the presence of some CEOs, Joe Sang. I've seen Joseph Ndoti. I've seen Wabuyabu, we are together, Julius Wabuyabu, and colleagues, everybody in the house this afternoon. It's basically a happy moment and a sad moment that I'm leaving Ministry of Energy every 20th month. But I really want to thank God today for the time we spent together, and to thank really the President for giving me the opportunity to serve in the highest decision-making organ in the Cabinet, and more specifically in the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, where we worked and achieved a lot of things together. So really, I'm grateful and happy that I've had that opportunity to be in that position where we together work as a team for me to be able to represent us in Cabinet in energy and petroleum matters. So I don't take that for granted. I really want to acknowledge that support that I've had from you, even as I went to Cabinet, with the very many Cabinet papers that we've been able to prosecute together. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, we've been going through an induction program at the National Defense University in Karen, and we were shown that we had passed on 280 Cabinet memos in the last financial year, and of those Cabinet memos, I think up to 20 came from the Ministry of Energy, and fairly solid, well-done documents that secures the energy security and the petroleum security of this country. So thank you very much for that great work we've done together, from policy to operationalizing some of those decision documents that gives security of energy for this country, not today, but in the years to come. Secondly, let me welcome my colleague, Honorable James Opiyo Wandayi, to this ministry. James, this is a great ministry, this is a great team. As we sat briefly in the boardroom before coming here, you did hear from the two Wazays, Justice Jackton Ojwang, retired, and former Minister Rigathi Murungi, that in this ministry, it's a very quiet ministry, and we don't make a lot of noise, but you see results. We are not working for today, the ministry. We plan for the several years to come. We're now planning for a generation that will secure the country by the year 2026, 27, 28. Because to deliver an energy project, like when we went this morning to Isinya to look at the substation that connects Mariakani, that connects Tanzania, that connects Konsa with power coming out of Suswa, we were told it takes up to 18 months to deliver. But because they are big programs, it can take up to 6 years. And you don't want to be in a situation where the country, because of overrun on a program running into 3, 4, 5, 6 years, the country has got energy challenges. So welcome, you are in good hands, you've got a great team, and I'm sure you will really deliver lots of success for this country in the energy and petroleum space. While welcoming you and for the documents we've signed, and because I've spent time with you from the time we were nominated, I've spent a lot of time with my colleague, you will note that the space of energy is a very interesting space where we have allowed the private sector to work with us. Whereas we have a fully unbundled energy space, particularly in generation of power, in the transmission space, and in the offtake, and supported by the law. We are able to license independent power operators to compete with Kenyan. We are able today to license transmission companies to build transmission mix. There are some programs with Africa 50 and a number of other concessionaires who are building transmission lines on PPP framework to support us to be able to wheel power to market, because the investment in energy is quite significant, and with the challenges of crowding the headroom with social investment in education, in health, it is important that we continue to deliver power to the various load centers. Load centers, Waziri, you did ask, what is this load center, where the energy is consumed or where the industries are. And it's important that we continue delivering power. And even for Kenya Power today, we are able to get competition because whoever generates power under captive framework will be able to wheel that power to market and sell it to any industry in the country as soon as you sign off some of the regulations which are ready, and they have been well done by EPRA, who regulates the industry. So karibu sana in the petroleum space. The value chain of ensuring that every vehicle in the country is moving, every industry that runs on petroleum products does not run dry. There's a lot of planning that goes into bringing products into Kenya, bringing products to support Uganda and our neighbors. And you will note very shortly that there isn't much noise, and yet we bring products worth over $6 billion annually into the economy, in petroleum products to run this economy. A lot of planning, no debt, it's a private sector space, and we work very quietly and very closely to ensure that we secure this country with competitive products, both in energy and petroleum. My desire, colleagues, has been to, in that mission statement in the Ministry of Energy, to ensure that we do capture not just provision of affordable energy, provision of energy which is secure, and so on and so forth, but to secure competitive cost of energy, to ensure that we do have a competitive economy, that we do draw competitive advantage in the cost of doing business. Because I have this vision that as a competitive country we are able to draw global firms. Global firms seek competitive advantage in the cost of doing business, in the cost of energy, in the green energy that we offer today being 92% renewable, to be able to have that advantage to market their products, because investors are not in for charity. They need to have return on their investment. And so it's important that we continue to generate power that is competitive in the region, not just affordable, because you can afford, I can afford, but what is the cost component in the unit cost of production? It's very important. And as we hand over today the various documents, the last meeting I had in this auditorium was with the independent power producers, where Waziri, you will note very quickly that the power generation space is a very competitive space. We attract investors. In fact, in the energy space, we have got a waiting list of those who want to generate power for this economy. And the waiting list runs up to the year 2040. 2040, there is somebody on the waiting list to generate power for Kenya for the year 2040. And because in that document we call the Least Cost Power Development Plan, LCPDT, the planning is such that we match demand and supply. If you generate not enough power, you will do load shedding. If you generate too much power and you are not able to sell all of it, you have to sell whatever you are selling more expensively to collect enough money to pay for the power that you are not able to sell. So you do a lot of planning so that we do not have excess power, and yet we do not have a shortfall of power. And that power that you are planning for today is for a market in 2027. So you have to be able to look at the GDP development in the energy sector and be able to predict well enough the power requirements for 2027, 2028, 2029, and sign the offtake agreements to be able to ensure that there is adequate power, there is no shortfall, and yet it is competitive, cost of power, it's got a good right energy mix in solar, wind, geothermal. Waziri, we are expiring the diesel generation by 2030. There will be a lot of pressure to see whether we can push them, but because of the climate change issues, we really must do what is right to support our climate. Waziri, it's a ceremony to just hand over. The documents will be there. We'll spend more time with you in cabinet. We will continue to work and cooperate as a team. But I really want to welcome you, and we'll be handing over some of the documents, including what Kenya Power Engineer Kiva worked with us to ensure that there's energy security for this country in the Least Cost Power Development Plan. And thirdly, I just want to really thank you all. I did thank God, thank the President, but I want to thank you for, people say Chirchir did this or Chirchir did that, but Waziri, these are the people who will deliver for you. So I want to thank you all. I didn't have a lot of time to socialize with most of you guys because Waziri asked me, how do you work at the ministry with these dotted lines? Because at the ministry we almost don't have staff. We have very few people at the ministry. And we work through the state, the state enterprises in REREC, Kenyan, Kenya Power, GDC, and so on and so forth. And I think I've given you guys space to work. But I want to thank you for the cooperation, because it's been very consultative in spite of the fact that you run with your independent boards. Kenya Power today, that company that has had its challenges, we've had to restructure and allow the shareholding structure framework to allow the independent shareholders to be represented in the board. And so in Kenya Power today, we have 4 independent directors, or 4 directors representing the private sector because of the 49% shareholding, and 5 representing government. And Kenya Power is performing very well. I'm sure going forward, we'll possibly be seeking to do the same for Kenyan and for all the listed companies, to bring in that knowledge from the private sector, from those investors, not just bringing their money, but bringing their capacity and knowledge, and see how their investment can return, the return on their investment can be better improved while employing their capital which they have put in through buying shares in some of these companies. So karibu sana Waziri, we will continue to work together. I really want to thank all of us for spending time together. I said I didn't quite socialize. We had a lesson yesterday from Mary Kimonye, and Waziri, you'll recall that Mary did teach us that you want to, when I call Josang, you want to call Josang in the PS, so that the PS doesn't feel undermined that you are talking to his staff directly. What is it that you are discussing with Josang without the knowledge of the boss or without the knowledge of the chairman? Because when they sit, when they assemble in the board, they want to make independent decisions. And then so we worked really well with the team and delivered for this country. So I leave you with my colleague, a friend, for the time we socialize together, and I'm sure we'll continue to work well together. But very importantly, we need to continue to secure the security of energy and petroleum for this country. It requires a lot of planning. I'll be spending time in detail with the various CEOs on a one-to-one basis with Waziri to tell them where they have done very well and where they need to pull up their socks. And we have discussed that with Waziri. But I really want to thank all of you for the support you gave me while in this ministry. And as I go to roads, I pray that I will have that fortitude and the kind of support that you gave me so that we make a difference with the infrastructure in this country. It's one thing for energy to be competitive. It's one thing to get products to market at a competitive cost. When you do cost allocation, for those of you who run industry, there is cost allocation from energy, there is cost allocation for transport to market, and then all that. And therefore, we need to really ensure that that cost is competitive and we are able to deliver for the region. Thank you for coming this morning to really bid me farewell. Thank you for the choir that entertained us with great words that captured the work and the great work we have done together and the wishes as we all go forward in our journey. I think we can make a big difference in our country in those positions that we sit in today. It is those, it's those few things, those small things that we do. I recall when I went for my interview the other day, confirmation in Parliament, and the kind of anxiety that strikes you, and you talk to all our colleagues, and you start revising your university notes. And I got my notes from my MBA, and I got all the work we've been doing together to be able to show, you know, you're not just doing interviews for the job. You basically carrying the torch and telling the world that I can do this job well for Kenya. You're not just seeking a job selfishly for yourself. You must be able to articulate. So the things you do today, and I tell my children, the things you do today in school is what you use 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later. Because that's what you will hold on to be able to move up and be able to prove to the world that we can do it. In the energy space, Waziri, we have serious professionals. In fact, we hardly have any expatriates. We don't have any expatriates, do we? We do all the work in geothermal. In Kenyan, they drill for other 12, 13, 14 African countries. From exploration, advising them and so on and so forth, from Comoros to Djibouti to Tanzania, where we did bid the other day to do that job. So I want to thank you. I leave you with God's blessings. We will continue to interact. I want to encourage each and every one of you to seek me out to buy me lunch. I'll try and be available. I'll make time for us to sit down together and continue not just working for this country, but working as friends and advising each other on how we can secure our nation. Waziri, karibu sana, and we will continue to liaise. Bwana PS, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've come a long way with PS. We used to manage elections together. And when I went for the interview, I did say that when there was no confidence in the electoral process in this country, we went in there and people would ask us, why do you want to go to the Electoral Commission when the country is burning down? And we tried and made a difference to have Kenyans, once again, after the post-election violence of 2008, to believe in electoral process, to believe in delegating their rights to somebody to be able, under the constitutional framework. And we worked together with the team at that time to do Chapter 7, run the referendum in 2010. And that's why I say, what you do today, you'll really be holding on to it for your dear life tomorrow. So let's all do our best. And thank you, Bwana PS, for the journey we have worked together. Who knew that our paths will cross again? When I left here in 2014, who knew I'll come back to energy? So buy me lunch, because our paths will cross again. But I want to thank you all for the support and the cooperation you've given me while working in this ministry. Asante sana, and God bless you. Thank you. Asante sana, thank you. Okay.